It is so hard to explain how I feel right now. I'm just shocked. Seems like there's so much to be said, but I don't feel like it. Why ruin the moment? Right? Well, you saw my face when I was driving, and it's so hard to convey these feelings. You've probably heard many times that it's an amazing feeling to be writing something you've built yourself. And this expression is not totally correct, because this feeling is not amazing. This feeling is just beyond reality. When you go for a ride with something you've completely assembled from junk metal that was laying around using a stick welder, an angle grinder, and a hammer, well, people wonder what it's like to ride a rigid frame on bad roads. Well, as you can see, I'm still alive and my kidneys are still intact. Rigid? Yes, of course it's rigid. It's a hardtail, but everything's fine and I'm not falling apart. The final gear that I assembled with old parts is complete garbage. It's screaming like crazy. The sissy bar is absolutely terrible. The final drive is screaming and the sissy bar is bolted directly to the final drive. All these sounds and vibrations go into the sissy bar, they resonate, and there's such a roar from behind. It's just brutal. Plus it unbolts from vibrations. The scooter generator is making noise like crazy. It's going absolutely nuts. But the front end is perfect. It works so well. You go down a road, you look at the rockers, they play, it's just marvelous. One exhaust pipe is shorter, the other pipe is longer. It's hard to understand how it works at all. Normal, not normal. I feel like adjusting the engine all the time. Since childhood, I learned to adjust the Dnepr engine work by ear. Like I listen to it for a couple of seconds and I immediately know which carburetor needs to be tweaked. Here, both pipes go to the same side. One is shorter, the other is longer. It is just unclear what's happening behind there. This was genuinely the very first time I went for a ride with it. In one of the previous videos, I drove a few meters around the yard, and back then, obviously, I didn't really understand anything. Yes, of course, it's a lot of unnecessary noises here, a lot of some kind of rumble, some kind of grinding. This sissy bar behind clangs like crazy, but this is the thrill. You're driving, leaning back, this engine is rumbling beneath you, something is making noise, something goes bananas. The scooter generator. The magnet itself is not from this generator, and therefore, regardless of how I adjust it, the magnet still rubs against the coils and makes such a terrible noise. The fuel consumption is catastrophic, but the pleasure I got from it is worth it, and worth much more. Emotions are just going through the roof. I can barely speak right now because I'm just completely overwhelmed. Yes, a few words about the suicide clutch. This is very dangerous and I don't recommend doing this to your motorcycle. If you live in a city and make yourself a suicide clutch, you're probably gonna get into trouble at some point. It's here that I'm driving through the fields and through the village, and even if I crash into something, it'll be at most a fence. But compared to an old Harley, which doesn't have a semi-automatic gearbox, I think a Dnepr is a little more convenient in this manner because I only use the clutch to start going. Semi-automatic transmission is when a clutch is released automatically when shifting gears. So all the gears I change without pressing the clutch pedal. Overall, everything's perfect. I'm happy as a clam. It's just off the charts. By the way, about the hardtail. These seat springs that are installed now, they pretty much don't work. I installed them simply because they look cool. But if you install regular coil springs, then all the inconveniences of a hardtail basically disappear. On my previous bobber, I had a regular Dnepr frame with the standard but shortened shocks, and they were almost as stiff as a hardtail frame. And at first, I had a seat without springs at all, and the ride was just rigid. But later, when I installed the springs, I even went long distance rides with this Dnepr and generally had no problems with my back, kidneys, or rigidness. Here, I still have them. These are the springs. I made a bracket removable, so when I go for long rides, I can install them. These are bicycle springs. They are soft and nice. And when I got home, I took them off and drove without springs. Now I need to assemble a normal final gear and not this screaming at the whole village disgrace. I gotta fix the headlight so I can ride normally at night as I wanted from the very beginning, and fix a few little things. Thank you for watching, and see you next time. And now I'll turn off the camera and just sit and stare at this bike for several hours in a row.